all the time.
Aromagees Botanica, a metaphysical store for mind, body, and spirit. Oils, herbs, candles, crystals, teas, handmade soaps, tarot cards, everything you need on your magical journey. Daily psychic and tarot readings, classes, witchcraft, pagan, and hoodoo supplies, most of it made in-house. Try our free Dress Your Own candle station. From spiritual gifts to ritual supplies to religious books, we have the widest selection of metaphysical products in all of Tennessee since 1999. It is our goal to inspire everyone to explore their spirituality in their own way by offering information and products in a nurturing multicultural environment. Open 7 days a week. 223 Donaldson Pike, Nashville, Tennessee, or visit us online at aromagees.com.
Wonderful. Welcome to Witchy Wednesdays at 1. This is Maria Shell. Thank you for joining me today. It is a hot mess outside here in Dayton, Ohio, but we are warm and cozy inside. And today I have with me my special guest speaker, Purna Devi. Try to pronounce it correctly. God love you. Purna is a beautiful, wonderful Reiki master. She is a spiritual guide and mentor. And we have been bumping around sacred space, checking each other out for quite a while here. And so I am thrilled to have her with me today. Welcome, Purna, and thank you so much for joining me on Witchy Wednesdays at 1.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited. I love having these conversations where different communities of spiritual seekers, my community, your community, we can come together and see what spirit has for us to flow through today.
Yes, absolutely. We are not scripted in these conversations. We do have a couple of points to talk about in case we get lost, because rabbit hole is a thing, especially when you're walking between worlds. But I like to hold a podcast that is raw and real and open to guidance from source. So we're just going to set that intention as we go forward here. I was burning a little sage before we got started, and I think I'll just reinforce that. Yeah, it was so beautiful outside yesterday. Just such a blessing that spring is here. So, all right. Well, Purna, why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are, how you found your feet on a spiritual path, and kind of what you've been up to lately.
Oh gosh, right. What loaded question. What a multifaceted question. We don't have enough time. Like most folks that are walking the spiritual path, we realize that we've been walking it longer than we realized, right?
Yes.
And so growing up, I was the kid who was, digging in dirt, and I had crystals all over my room. And I went to church on the church bus.
Right.
I come from a very long line of ancestral trauma. And so I think that I incarnated, probably like a lot of folks also on the spiritual path, to really halt that, to really heal that and align with a higher frequency. And so when I was a kid, I went to a Southern Baptist church, actually, because it was all, I'm not trying to hate on Southern Baptists, but I renounced that a long time ago, actually, when I was 12.
Yeah.
So I've always been, I think, a champion for deeper thinking, for the underdogs, for those of us who seem maybe like the misfits, but I think that really we're the future leaders, right? We're the ones that have incarnated to do the deep work in this lifetime, go against the grain of popular culture and what we see around us,
Yeah.
So it's always been a part of who I am. And I think when I was in my I was 18, I took my very first yoga class. And there was this old white-haired woman, and she was chanting, and I was just giggling, and I had no idea that was a glimpse into my future. So I started in yoga philosophy to heal my own trauma, deeply rooted in yoga, and then found energy healing, found Reiki, found trauma-informed care. And then most recently, I've been doing hypnotherapy, past life regression therapy, and going deeper into the subconscious programming where these old traumas are stored, Yeah, so kind of all over the map, really.
And I think, after you've been on the path for a while, you do kind of get all over the map, right? Each time that we up level, we have to go through our elements again. We come to that ether, that understanding, and boom, back down into our earth we go, right into our body, trying to figure it out. But with each successive up level, we retain the gifts that the prior level has shown us and given to us. And so our understanding of each of the elements and of source creator and our I am consciousness becomes more and more global. And then there are just so many pieces, right?
Yeah, true. I went a couple weeks ago with a friend who wanted to explore the Buddhist Center downtown Dayton, Gardroma, and we went to a Wednesday night chat. And like you said, right, you'll keep coming back to kind of the same messages and the same lessons. And I heard the presenter say something in a way that I've said 100 times, but I never heard it said this way. And so for all the spiritual aspirants watching today, I just want to share this. He said, for us to even have access to this knowledge in this lifetime, we have collected so much merit leading up to that, right? Yes. So all the times we have been faced with, maybe what the collective is doing or wanting us to do, or maybe what your family is wanting you to do, and you go your own way and you honor your own truth. I feel like that is a collection, like depositing in your karmic bank account or something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we do or say or think or are that isn't being mirrored back to us in either micro or macro sort of way. That causes us to continually seek, right? There is no done in this game. And you and I actually have something in common, because I've been doing guided meditations for many, many years, and I'm now facilitating those. And past lives is one of the things that I help people work with, along with shape shifting and mantra work and chakra clearing and finding their spirit guide or totem animal. So yeah, very powerful work is available to us when we trust and learn the processes that can pull us out of our linear thinking and into sort of the limitlessness of the quantum, right?
Truly, truly. The fun thing about past life regression therapy, some people will say, well, how do you know? And I say, well, you don't. I can't confirm that you were queen of Egypt,
Right.
3,000 years ago. Right? And don't trust anyone that says they can confirm that, right? I
Right.
say,
Yeah, exactly.
our mind, this vast multidimensional cosmic space, right? This infinite consciousness we can tap into, I think gives us a combination of symbols, and because we know time is not linear, it's all happening right now.
Right.
And so we have symbols and messages and deeper understanding and creativity in these ways. So I love that, I think there's so many beautiful healers in Dayton, because there's a lot of suffering here, right? And so the creative community and the spiritual community, I love to see how we're all coming out of the woodworks with our special gifts. It's just beautiful to see.
Since the time of the Grand Conjunction, and now with the Age of Aquarius in full swing as of last month, right? And the pandemic, which caused us all to have to seek within for the things that were chaff and the things that were worthy of milling down into our life's work, right?
Absolutely.
Anyone who thinks
Like
that magic or spirituality is like a fluffy bunny sort of experience is only on the edge of what is actually occurring when you take on this path for real. On that note, can you tell me or share with me any particular experience in your history that may have been an aha moment for you, or something that stood out where you absolutely knew that you were on it, right? On the path?
Oh my gosh. So many moments in my life that, it just becomes absurd and laughable.
Yes.
And I used to joke that I was going to write a book called You Can't Make That Shit Up. Yes. Because the synchronicities, right? I think the deeper you do dive into spirituality, you see how everything is so ironic and absurd. And so for me, I think, again, just having revelations and actually experiencing relief from very, very deep trauma that I did not find relief from in Western therapy, Western medication, right? Surprise. Yeah. System really failed me as a young 18-year-old who got diagnosed with PTSD, CPTSD, right? From years of violent sexual abuse in my household, and growing up with an alcoholic father and an abusive mother and abusive brother. And so it's really the side effects, right? When you start to actually find joy and find your own inner peace, and you stop waiting for some quick fix or a pill to sedate you, or you stop using all the coping tools, and you're left with just the deep suffering that is calling for your attention.
Yes.
And so I've had many of those but I would say honestly, probably when I was 18, 19, and I just really cracked open and cracked down and shared some of these things that I had been carrying my whole life with my
Right.
family, and protecting everybody else, being the perfect child, the people pleasing, the
That's
mask
because you're doing
wearer.
everything you can to be as small as possible when you're in that environment, right? You're trying desperately to be invisible.
It's and what
And it's funny, that's probably our first touch of magic, right? Is learning our power as a victim of circumstance like that to become invisible, to become small and insignificant, right? To become a mouse in a room full of lions, just we don't realize, I think, that it is our power, our magic that is allowing that to occur because we're doing it out of a fight or flight response, right? But that's a deep, deep emotion, just like love or passion or joy. And that's where our power is in the deepest emotion, the feeling of this life that we're living, not in the doing of this life, right?
It's so true, and I've made jokes because I think also the longer you're on this path, the thicker your sense of humor becomes,
Yes.
right? Because we can't just sit around and cry all day or kumbaya and spiritually bypass, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I have joked that my dissociative coping mechanisms that my angel guides gifted me with as a child to,
Yes.
those coping tools, and it's all I had, have made me really fantastic at the transcendent work, at the psychic work, at the, being a meditator and being able to tap in now to these higher conscious spaces in a mindful way, in a way where the dissociative quality has healed as a coping tool, right? We don't check out any used to, but now we can check in, right? And use those tools as a mature spiritualist, right?
Right. I think there comes a time when you take the eyes of blame off of yourself, right? And shame and ridicule that others have placed on you. And you begin to self-examine from a place of sort of objectivity where it's like, okay, I see my shit here. How much of that is mine to own? How much of that has been conditioned into me? And so fucking what are you going to do with it? Right? Are we going to repeat this same ass pattern over and over and over again? Or are we going to learn the lesson, integrate that into our being and move beyond that former version of ourselves that was okay with, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And what I also see that happens sometimes, and it's understandable, but like you said, right, at some point we take our own responsibility for our healing. People that don't take responsibility for their healing and they stay in those victim and those blame and shame cycles, they die just a slow suffering death, or they end up becoming like their perpetrators or becoming those, right? Because we get so angry. And I think we also live in a culture of women who've been told to stuff anger down and not be angry. And I think that these, like you said earlier, these emotions are just potent gifts and potent tools of deep healing and deep integration of higher wisdom, right? And of deep compassion. I know without a doubt that I incarnated to help guide marginalized groups, women and my queer friends and folks again are considered on the fringe of society, but they're the prophets. We're the ones that really
no one ever made big change in the world by fitting into someone else's box.
That's right. And so the more we can those expectations, like you said, of, you know, of other people's conditioning. And right now we are in a society of sleepwalkers,
Yeah,
you know, but they're,
absolutely.
oh, and God love them. They're the backdrop for those of us and those who are watching this, who are doing the damn thing, and they're not going to go back to sleep. Because like you said, we are at a historical time, cosmologically,
Yes.
astrologically, in humanity. And if you look at the cycles, right, all the great seers and
Yeah.
readers that read the larger cycles
Yes.
of human history have all shared the same thing. Like, oh yeah, we came down here when
Yeah.
shit
Now is the time of the Rainbow Warrior. And
Woo!
yeah, whoo, amen.
Oh yeah, yeah. I give for you and for myself and for all of those watching who really are stepping into their own warrior space, like you
Yeah.
said, you know, to really do the deep integration of the lessons.
Well, and I think one of the most important things that we're doing as leaders in the community is showing up imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, showing up being like, hell, I don't know.
That's it.
But I'm going to keep doing the thing because I can't not do the thing. I've seen Grandpa in his underwear. I know I have to move forward. There ain't no going back from that.
Yeah,
So, yeah, so it really is just a matter of you know, getting out of your own way at that point, to into a place of radical compassion for yourself and radical ownership of those things which are under your control, right?
absolutely.
And
And
actually, I was very blessed recently to be able to have a conversation with my primary abuser from my childhood, and offer unconditional love to that person, because the ability to step away from my perpetrator was never an option for me, right? I had to find a way that I could be at peace with then and now. And for years, there was always this conditional thing where it was like, I love you. But then in my mind, there was always, but you did this, you did that, you know, whatever. And at some point, one of my shadows was looking at the fact that I was blaming a lot of my bad choices on that experience in my life. But it hadn't been in my life for a decade or 2 decades or whatever, right? I couldn't continue to place blame or ownership for my shitty decisions on that person or that situation. It certainly informed big parts of me, but it's only in the ownership of those parts of it that are mine and the releasing of the parts that are not, that we can come into this space where we're able to be creatures of love, right? And to offer prayer to what is despicable, right? Because that love is the only answer. Anger and hatred and resentment and all of these other depression and all these other feelings associated with our past trauma is not a way forward. Love is the way forward.
Right. And that healing salve that, you know, I think you can understand just listening to that story, and myself, I can very much understand what you're saying very deeply, but we get held hostage, right? We hold others hostage to their past abuses sometimes when we're in that victim mentality. And then what happens is it actually holds us hostage, and our own development stagnates and is held hostage by that. And so what a gift, right? To give ourselves that deep work, you know, and it's not easy. Like it's not, you know, I joke, we're not just all dressed in white, singing songs, holding hands. It's like being gutted on the bathroom floor.
Yeah, exactly.
In the puddle of your own tears, at your altar, surrendered, submitted entirely. And giving it a place to go and a space to heal. Absolutely. So good on you for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so this medicine that is speaking through you, what sort of modality is that offering at this time in your on your journey?
So I do a lot of one-on-one mentorship these days, so it can be very organic. And so then I like to joke that I'm the goddess with 10,000 arms,
Right.
and it's not really a joke,
Mashiva.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm you're speaking my language. I'm a Shivite. And so Om Namah Shivaya is my what they call Ishta Devata, my personal mantra as well.
Uh,
Yes, thank you for seeing me. I feel very seen when you said that. But I digress. So I just feel that I've got so many tools in each hand, and the tool for the job comes out. And so oftentimes folks will say, well, what are we going to do in my session? And I say, well, show up. I have no idea who you're going to
right.
be. I have no idea what you're going to start unraveling before me. But what I do always know is that if you do that earnestly, it will reveal itself. It always does.
Yes.
And so it's a combination. Right now I tend to be a healer for the healers, and I like to help people build spiritually based businesses and teach people how to do energy healing, offer Reiki certification, and that one-on-one mentorship that is just a combination of oftentimes hypnotherapy, energy healing, talk therapy, intuitive psychic guidance. I'm going to be studying mediumship this year to get deeper into my skills there, because it's happened spontaneously,
Yeah.
but I've got studied a lot with an actual living teacher, my mediumship skills. And so I think that when we do walk in this world, people are very vulnerable when they come to us. And I think that it's important to really understand our tools and sometimes hold them back.
Yes.
I don't pull every tool for every client, right? Because
Right.
it's just not appropriate or reasonable to do so. And or ethical, right? There's a
Right.
lot of false prophets. There's a lot of folks practicing very unethically. And so I try to be a healer of integrity because I do my back end work. I have daily rituals that I use. And then I study with teachers as well to continue growing.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I think that in order to be an effective leader, having a mentor, a spiritual support person, and like a tribe of people that can step up to help you with all the moving parts too, because what we do is big, right? Especially if we're doing it in right relationship with holding a container that blesses all of the people who seek our services, right?
It's so true.
And so, yeah, sometimes you need more physical hands than what we came with, right?
That's what I joke
And
about.
as much as we like pray and allow and trust and surrender spirit to guide and to handle, that doesn't negate our responsibility on this level to have our shit together, right?
It's so true. In yoga philosophy, they say that there are really three tenets of this spiritual walk. One of them, and it's the basis of the foundation, right? The base
Right.
of the pyramid, if we're building a pyramid here. And that's important, right? In sacred geometry.
Absolutely.
And
Foundation is crucial.
that is our sadhana, our own daily spiritual hygiene, right? Life slings mud all over us, and we come in with muddied karma, right? We come in with a to-do list of things and a list of sufferings we're going to incur to grow and to learn these lessons. And so those daily rituals are just, they're not something you can just do sometimes and fake it, right? You just won't get very far. And then the second thing is exactly what you said. It's Sangha in Sanskrit, and that's community of like hearts, right?
Yes.
Because we are swimming upstream against a lot of counterintuitive messages. A lot of messaging from every angle tells us to disconnect and to separate from ourselves and our spiritual awakening. And so we need folks to help mirror us and to
Sure.
help us on the path. And then we get into seva, which is service to others.
Yes.
Once I'm so filled up with this gift, it is my duty to give it away, to share it. It just spills
Well,
over.
it should be, I was going to say, it should be just overflowing, like your cup fills and runs over, and that blesses the people around you, right?
Right. I want to feed everyone, you know, anyone, right? We shove it down people's throats. God, I tried and I wished I could, but
I know, right?
I can't F with anybody else's free will. I made a joke about that the other day. I'm like, God, all the things I would do if I could impact other
I
people's.
know, like twinkle your nose and makes the magic happen.
But I guess that keeps my hands clean. So we'll take it.
Well, and in all honesty, it is the very effort of society, of toxic patriarchy, to do that very thing that has us in such a mess right now.
Absolutely.
Is to rob people of their free will and like create a bunch of robots, human sentient robots, to fall into the categories that have been prescribed by those in power, right? But it's not sustainable.
It's not.
It's not healing. It's anyway. That's a whole nother podcast, I'm certain. So I know you say you have a daily practice. Is there anyone in particular that you're following right now, or any music or podcasts that you're listening to that you find especially inspirational?
Ooh, I tune out a lot, to be honest. I kind of like I joke about putting your blinders on. Otherwise, in the parade, the horses get spooked. So I tend to kind of keep to myself there. I've got some wonderful teachers in the Amazon. I'm going to be studying with Maria Leggett at the Temple of Rebel Goddess. Yeah, the Temple of the Goddess. They're doing a lot of amazing things these days, and they're local in the community.
I got asked to participate in one of their events actually, but I had a conflict, so I still haven't been out there. But I'm wanting to go soon and check it out.
Yeah. Who else? Yeah. I just I kind of keep my blinders on, and I'm very discerning about who feeds me my information.
Sure, absolutely.
I guess. Yeah. And so I hope everyone listening, be discerning, do your deep work so you know if it's bullshit or not.
Yeah, exactly. Just because someone claims to be a guru and opens their mouth and says something that seems poetic does not necessarily mean that you have to take it to your heart and make it your own, right? I just did that plant medicine masterclass, and the first thing I told everyone as they sat that 90-minute course was, there's going to be a lot of information here. I'm going to cover a lot of topics. Some of this information will resonate with you, some of it will not. I am certainly not an expert in the field of plant medicine, so do your research. Feel free to take what serves you and to disregard everything else. I'm only here in service, but, my hope is that what I'm offering serves you in some way. But most certainly do your own research, and, don't take this one experience as like, okay, now I know everything there is to know about plant medicine and I can move forward.
Yeah. I think also, aside from research, it really is that daily practice. If I could, shove anything down someone's throat here as they're listening, I hope I get to encourage folks to just remind them how important their own experiential wisdom is, right? You can read things in a book, you can listen to somebody else's experience, but the other side of the coin is really doing things consistently in a way that helps your consciousness unfold.
It speaks to those who can do and those who can't teach, right? We are both teachers, and I don't want to give people the wrong idea, but most certainly there are people out there purporting to be teachers who really don't have the boots on the ground experience necessary to hold the container that they're offering.
Well,
And that's one of the reasons why I offered that class, is to create awareness. Like, okay, you're going to hear about all of these things, but how do you know who's in right relationship with that medicine, that indigenous culture who has guarded that for thousands of years, with yourself and with source? Medicines or modalities come to you when the time is right. You don't go find them and force the relationship, right? And that was part of why I wanted to teach that class, was not just to throw some hot topic out there and yeah, if I'm going to provide information, then it needs to speak to the core essence of what the medicine is asking for, right?
Right.
We just got a comment from Gypsy saying how much she enjoyed that master class. So
Wonderful.
yeah, unfortunately, it covers a whole lot of topics that Facebook won't let me put on their page. So
Yeah,
Zoom only kind of event, but
yeah, ban the natural stuff and push what's not natural, right? That's that's the MO of the system here. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And I mean, the system, just like anything else, it's a tool. We just have to be mindful about when we pick it up and how we use it.
It's absolutely, I say that all the time, right? It can work for you, and if it's not for you, then adapt the relationship or cut it off.
Yeah, absolutely. We've kicked actual people to the curb and we're still on Facebook, right? So maybe a little balance there somewhere is to be had. But so tell people how it is they can find you, get more information about the services that you offer.
Thank you. Thank you. You can go to my website at PurnaDevi. So phonetically, it's PurnaDevi.com. It's pronounced Purna Devi, right? But here in the Midwest, phonetically, it looks like Purna Devi.
Yes.
Which is fine with me. And so you can find me there, and also via Instagram. I'm on Instagram, and it's I am Purna Devi, PurnaDevi, and I have a private soul circle group online on Facebook. And where else? I do in-person work in Miamisburg, and then I also see people all over the country via Zoom. So I've been really blessed to have students and clients from California to Florida, all the way across. And that's been really a quite expansive blessing for my heart.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the small benefits that came out of the COVID situation, was that it sort of forced us all to socialize and learn online and shop online and a bunch of stuff online. But it did create an opportunity for those of us who've been sort of teaching boots on the ground to really take a look at how can we take the model of service that we have to offer and convert that into something that is a real and visceral experience, learning experience for someone through the internet, right? And some of the most powerful teachers are on the uphill side of that learning curve, right? They're shooting out into the stratosphere, landing boots on the ground in that modality, in that model of business, right? And for some of us, it might be a little bit slower, but
technology is an interesting thing, but I do agree. I think that because I was actually performing, I'm a licensed massage therapist as well. That branch is retired from the business friend, so you can't down anymore. My 40-year-old pre-arthritic arms told me enough's enough. But I had to transition and pivot my business 100% online. And it was really beautiful because we do, those of us who do have an understanding of quantum physics and that energy does transcend time and space.
Sure.
I found some folks were saying, it felt like an even more intimate container because they were in the safety and comfort of their own space doing the deep work, and if I was there with them.
Right.
And so quantum leapt together just in the way we're doing now. You're in some place in the universe, and I am over here in my place in the universe, but here we are in the same room. It's a beautiful, beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So when we're done with this interview, if you would be so kind to post links to any kind of social media or contact link for someone who might be interested in finding out more about the work you do and how they might get in touch with you, that would be great.
Yeah.
And then I know that there was one more thing that you wanted to talk about before we close this program, so I will give you the floor.
And as soon as you ask, I start crying. And thank you, Maria, for this timing, because I have been so grief stricken. We lost our dog Sunday night out of our backyard. She crawled and dug a hole. And so I have been putting out blasts. I give so many thanks for people that have been sharing online. So if I could share a link to that flyer and ask anyone that enjoyed this podcast today to share. So, and please continue to pray and hold the highest vision that our sweet Lola girl comes home. She was a rescue. She was already out on the streets when we got her, and she was just really abused and terrified. And so I've had her and worked with her for years. And this is a deep, deep pain that if anyone's lost a dog or had experienced any loss in their life,
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, and oh man, I'm just going through it right now.
So you're more than welcome to drop a link into the podcast comments, but also please feel free to cross post onto my Baba Yaga set page the flyer and the link of how someone can contact you in case they see your precious baby. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, she was lost from Miamisburg, Ohio. So who knows where she is now.
Well, and I have a fairly large following of local people here in this area. Gypsy says good luck. She hopes that she finds her way home. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for giving me that last little space to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see. We went over, but I think it's okay.
We started a little late, so thanks for everybody.
No, that's fine. For everyone who may not know, I did start my YouTube Witchy Wednesdays at 1 channel about 3 weeks ago, and so I think we're about 5 weeks out, but this will be appearing on my YouTube channel as well. For you, I will send you a notice when we're on the week that you will appear, so you can share that out on your social. Okay.
Of course.
Next week, we are going to be featuring a beautiful woman named Sandra Piragrose, who lives in Boston, Massachusetts. She will be joining me to talk about her wonderful products and services that she makes through her beautiful business. Until then, I wish you many, many blessings on your journey. This is Maria for Witchy Wednesdays at 1, telling you I love you like mad. Now go out there and be magical and stay dry. Okay. Thank you so much.